Good morning and welcome to Rising. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a great show for you today. The funeral for former President Jimmy Carter is underway at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. All the presidents are there, current and former, and we will be talking about that, discussing some footage from that in a little bit. But first, we will be turning to the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles. I am here with Niall Stanage, as usual. Nice to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Robby. How are you today?
I am just fine, thank you.
Excellent. So let's get right to the events on the other side of the nation, the wildfires. What is on your radar?
Well, wildfires are raging across Los Angeles, having destroyed more than 1,000 buildings in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. But have no fear, Joe Biden is on it. The president flew to California on Wednesday to make an appearance with California Governor Gavin Newsom, who has been heavily criticized by conservatives for how he has handled the wildfires issue. In his remarks, Biden concentrated on his concerns that the home of his infamous son, Hunter Biden, had burned to the ground because Hunter lives in that neighborhood. They now believe the home is in fact still standing, and good. Biden also took this opportunity to make a personal announcement. Let's watch.
We got the notification yesterday that their home was probably burned to the ground. Today, it appears that maybe still standing, I'm not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great-grandfather as of today. I have a granddaughter, and a baby girl, a baby boy. So I remember this day for a lot of long reasons.
So that was Biden announcing the birth of his first great-grandchild, which makes him the first sitting president in U.S. history to have a great-grandchild. And look, good for him, of course, but was that press conference really the right place to express relief that everything is A-okay for Hunter? And by the way, there's a new addition to the Biden family. I mean, talk about tone deaf. Thousands of people are in danger of losing their homes. At least 5 people have died. Biden left that press conference without taking any questions from the media, of course. Now look, the president is perfectly within his rights to be happy that Hunter's house is safe and to be excited about the birth of a great-grandchild. I would be, too. But look, I'm sorry, that was a tone-deaf way to announce it. Remember when Biden was crowned the king of empathy by the mainstream media? The guy who could take care of COVID because he understood suffering and pain, could relate to Americans who were reeling from sickness and death. The presidency is, let's be frank, first and foremost a comms role. And in that capacity, Biden is just so totally out of his depths at this point. Yes, it's the end of his presidency. In just a few days, we won't be beating him up for that much longer. Maybe he's on autopilot, but never forget that a few short months ago, virtually the entire Democratic Party, the mainstream media establishment, all pretending he had the stamina to do this for another 4 years. Meanwhile, President-elect Donald Trump, soon to be President Trump, is laying the blame for the wildfires' devastation on California Governor Gavin Newsom. On Truth Social, the president-elect blamed Newsom for opposing Trump's water restoration declaration, which he says would have moved water from Northern California to these affected areas. For her part, odiously, LA Mayor Karen Bass has been away on a trip in Africa. Here she is taking questions from Sky News.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? I appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
That makes Biden's handling of it look particularly spectacular by comparison. Not a lot of answers there, as you can probably see. So, what do you think, Niall, about how these two Democrats are handling the optics of the real devastation going on?
So I am going to push back on your radar, perhaps not surprisingly, because I think it is a bit unfair, more than a bit in parts. Now, as you know, I have been critical of Biden on various occasions for either him hanging on in office too long or for ineffective moments that he has had in the latter part of his time in office. But to suggest that he is tone deaf, we'll get to what Trump said in a second, but he did also say we're doing anything and everything we can, and for as long as it takes to contain these fires, and noted that it was going to take some time. What he has done in the interim is approved a major disaster declaration for California, which has concrete effects in terms of people's capacity to get aid for themselves. He has also put in place a FEMA situation which allows California to get compensated for its firefighting. The federal government has provided 5 large air tankers, 10 helicopters that are specifically equipped for firefighting, and dozens of fire engines. So I don't think that it is really fair to characterize his response as negligent or solipsistic or narcissistic simply because he happens to mention the birth of his first.
Well, maybe the policies are perfectly fine. I would, for his part, I was really just critiquing the optics of it. I would critique.
But you don't think it's tone deaf? I mean, if we're saying that Biden is tone deaf to talk about the birth of his great-grandson, we don't think it's tone deaf for Trump to use a derogatory nickname about Gavin Newsom?
I think I would certainly prefer if Donald Trump did not use derogatory nicknames for a variety of people. That has clearly ceased to faze the American people. I think it's fine to criticize, this is a state that has supermajority Democratic control, and to criticize those policies as Trump was doing, to criticize Karen Bass for, according to reports, having reduced the budget of the fire department by, I saw 2 figures, I saw 23 million and 17 million. I'm not sure which is accurate, but it is reported in a variety of you're going to say more funding for local.
I certainly welcome your conversion to robust funding.
Well, look, they gotta fund. I mean, they gotta.
A good libertarian belief. Everyone should have their own fire.
If people are paying for fire, they should get good fire service. Well, look, you could have a private fire department too, but people deserve to have this. The service is monopolized by the government. People deserve to have the service handle it well. I mean, obviously.
Well,
the government says we and we alone are going to take care of this for the people. You're going to pay tax dollars, so we will take care of it. Then there is some expectation that they actually handle it. I think that's fine.
I think it is worth noting that whether we use the 17 million or 23 million figure for Karen Bass's cuts to the Los Angeles Fire Department, the annual budget for that department is $819 million. So we're talking about a cut of about 2%. Whether that is really a pivotal change that would affect the capacity to deal with these fires in a fundamental way seems rather questionable to me. Now, there are, I think, genuine, I mean, this is obviously a disaster, and obviously there are going to be political debates around it. Some of those political debates, I think, just obscure some very obvious practicalities that political policy can't really handle. One of the reasons, as I understand it, for the shortage of water in fire hydrants or the loss of water pressure is typically you fight wildfires most effectively from the air by dropping, vast quantities of water or other suppressant. They haven't been able to put those aircraft in the air because of the winds for some of the time, which means you're then left fighting wildfires from fire hydrants, and that just fundamentally doesn't work and puts an enormous strain on the water supply. That is not something that is in any legitimate sense really a political issue.
Yeah, but that's fair, but the functioning of government in crises like this, you're right, it doesn't need to be political, but it's always made political. If it was Republicans in charge of the state and this was happening, you would get denunciations of how they're handling it. So I think it's perfectly fair. Again, it is obviously fair to criticize the mayor for not even being there and fielding questions about it.
But did she? But she didn't go when she had gone before the fires broke out, and she then got back. Well, she is back.
Let's get on the first train
She had
home.
to attend the inauguration of the Ghanaian prison.
Very, very important to be there for that, I'm sure. Tell us what you think, and we will be back with more Rising right after this.